Calvin always tells a good joke before we turn the camera on. That's why we were in a good mood. If we weren't, then he didn't come up with a good joke that day. It's about time. We have waited for weeks for an opportunity again to talk about the mission of hope. We are Seton Catholic Central School in Plattsburgh. May be the last time I will ever be in this library because the school is going to be moving to Northside School and the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. There's so much exciting news in this town, and whatever is going to happen to Hanging Hill. I bet your sister, you didn't even know this was called Hanging Hill.
No, I didn't.
A few years before I was born and 1,000 years before you were born, before there was any MAI or Seton Catholic, there was a hill here, a little hill, and public hangings were held here in the early part of the 19th century. And I've tried to get anybody in history to admit that this building is haunted, and nobody ever will. But some of the buildings around here are said to have strange things happen. Now, I don't know why I brought that up, except that life changes. Each time we do one of our programs and come back a couple years later, things change. And look at these kids who were freshmen are now all of a sudden they're seniors and
Juniors and sophomores.
And all the other stuff in between. Mission of Hope. How many times to Nicaragua so far?
We're in our 5th year, but actually this will be our 8th trip.
Yeah, you cheat and go in between times.
We do now. We do. We are doing 2 a year, and our goal is to eventually do 4 a year.
We have Sister Debbie Blow with us today, and you're such a dear friend for such a long time, and we appreciate what you've done for kids and for countries and for the world, and to be able to have the strength and the energy and the resources to do it again. Isn't that terrific?
I was just commenting to someone today that I feel very blessed. I feel like I get to be the emissary of all the good hearts of the North Country. And if you thought we didn't have energy, you just have to spend a little bit of time with all these students, and they just rejuvenize me. So I'm excited, and I love what I'm doing, so that makes me very fortunate in today's world. And I think that the people of the North Country are doing wonderful things with the mission.
We don't have to backtrack a lot, but there are people, maybe one person, who turned on the television and saw Mission of Hope for the first time and poked each other and said, what are they talking about? So just give us a little capsule of how it started and how we got where we are in the year 2003 toward the end of January.
Maybe we should ask our juniors who just took their English Regents today. I understand the second question on the Regents was the effects of Hurricane Mitch on Central America. So needless to say, any student who's done the Mission of Hope could adequately answer that response. Hurricane Mitch occurred back in 1998 and literally for about 4 or 5 days just stalled over Central America and dumped inches and inches and inches of water. As a result of that devastating hurricane, thousands and thousands, somewhere estimated between 10 and 20,000 people were buried alive. As a result of that, and the mudslides and the cliff drop-offs and those kinds of experiences, thousands more, 100,000s more were displaced. We have found refugee centers that began at 10,000 people and are now at 100,000 people in a ghetto location, all displaced individuals in one small section of Nicaragua from Hurricane Mitch. So if you add that reality to the reality that in the last 2 years, Nicaragua and Central America have experienced devastating droughts, the opposite extreme. The hunger condition and the poverty condition in Nicaragua is even worse now than when we first started with Hurricane Mitch, which is sad to say. And you couple that with the economic realities, the economic reality of Nicaragua has also decreased significantly. So it is good that the mission continues, and it is even better that so many of these young people are willing to give of their times and their vacations and their commitments to do this. But not only young people, we have 63 individuals going on this mission, and this is with doing two.
We're up to 63 now?
We're up to 63, and this is with doing 2 missions a year now. And we actually keep turning people away who want to be part of this. So we keep saying to them, keep applying, because our goal eventually is to do 4 missions a year. But that's essentially how mission began. We began as a response to an immediate crises and saw the need for continued bearers of hope and development, and that's what we're about.
These people live in crisis every day of their lives.
They do. I think it's hard to imagine a situation where 80% of the people don't have water or electricity or sanitation, or 6 out of every 10 will never have a job, and the average education is 6th grade level. And you put all of that into the reality that these people are struggling from day to day to find food and water. And then you add to that combination the reality of extensive disease and hardship. And yeah, they're struggling significantly.
And hopefully
Filled with hope. Yes.
That's why we call it the Mission of Hope.
That's right.
We've got brochures now.
We have brochures.
This is way more class than I ever dreamed of.
Well,
or
we have
expected.
brochures because of very generous people in the North Country region who have produced those brochures for us free of charge.
Tell me about it.
We have actually 2 brochures, and we welcome our viewers to apply to write for these. The one that is on the screen at the moment is the sponsorship brochures, which talks to you about sponsoring a child for education. Looking into the eyes of a child and realizing that you can make all the difference in the world is a significant turning point in one's life. For $100 a year, you can sponsor a child for education, and that education includes not only the schooling, but a daily meal. It includes the uniform, it includes the shoes and the socks, a visit to the doctor. It also includes the pencils and pens that youngster needs to learn. Now you're also holding up what we're celebrating as our 5th anniversary brochure. It's hard to believe that we're actually into our 5th year of the Mission of Hope. And that brochure is a summary brochure talking about all the different ways that people can be involved in all the different aspects of the mission, the educational, the medical, the infrastructural improvements, the orphanage, the cancer hospital, the disability center, the women's hospital, and it goes on and on. So for either one of those brochures, if you're interested, you can either give my office a call, 561-2599. You could, or you can give us a self-addressed stamp envelope at Post Office Box 2522, Plattsburgh, New York. Or you can come online. We have our own website now, North Country Mission of Hope. And that is it. And if you go online, it'll give you all the ways to reach us.
You have come of age. You have your own website.
Well, we have our website because of people who have been on mission. 2 of our mission people, Mike and Lori Clark, are paying for the website process and actually have fixed up our website. And then we've had assistance from Roger Black at the Press Republican and other individuals along the way who are helping us to do the best that we can.
It takes a large North Country family to assist you, so volunteers have to be plentiful, don't they?
Oh, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that the volunteers are what makes this mission work. Across the spectrum, technically, we don't have any paid employees of the North Country Mission of Hope. I technically am the director, and fortunately I have a grant from my congregation for this year. We don't have funding for that for next year, and we do not take any of our mission funds to provide for the mission. Whatever is contributed to the mission goes to the mission, and that's what makes this a homegrown mission with homegrown people. And yes, the volunteers are critically essential, from picking up supplies to helping us pack the supplies to collecting the funds to running programs. You name it, people are doing it. We have so many different businesses providing their services either through doing our T-shirts or doing our brochures.
Hold up the T-shirt. This is too cool.
This is our
so
official
beautiful
logo for the mission.
Take a look at this. Isn't that colorful and beautiful?
And
how long did it take to come up with a logo?
Actually, I credit Martha down at Sarah Graphics, and she came up with a basic logo, and then a few of us worked on the terminology to encircle the logo, and it's going well, and everyone seems to love it. In fact, this is new news, and you're the first people to hear this. Even these kids don't know this yet. You can now order off our website. You will be able to order T-shirts and sweatshirts with the logo on it.
Isn't that cool?
That's Martha Levy and Sarah Graphics, and they're donating all of their proceeds to the Mission of Hope.
Flip it over. It's bilingual.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
bilingual.
Come on, guys.
Have become culturally wise?
Isn't this amazing?
It says hearts and hands working together to improve lives.
It's really, really quite nice, and I certainly will generate comments when people start wearing them around town. Are they out and about now or not?
The students all have everyone that's going on mission has their shirt. Yes, so you'll start seeing them, and when people want to start ordering them, they have to simply ring up our website or ring up Sarah Graphics, and we're a go.
So I think we've explained adequately how this program has evolved over the last 5 years. Almost beyond your wildest dreams, but I've seen some of your wildest dreams, and so I think you're just trying to fulfill what you dreamed of.
I think I'm fortunate to be able to fulfill the dreams of many by being this emissary. It is a dream come true for me to do what I get to do, to be with these people, to be able to work with young people, which has always been a pulse for me, to be able to work with professionals in our community and so many different volunteers. For me, it's a ministry, and it's enabled me to put all the pieces of my life and preparation together to do something to help others.
It's nice when you have a calling and you actually find a niche and fit into it, isn't it, in life?
It's a deep sense of gratitude and peace. There's no other way of explaining it. I say to these kids, they won't really realize that until years from now, that this is significant turning point in their lives, and they're helping to make it a big piece of mine.
And I think because of all the programs we've done, and I don't know how many altogether, and Calvin normally knows those things, but we've done a number of video programs, most of them at least 90 minutes long. Mm-hmm. And so our viewers, our faithful viewers who've seen every one, or at least some of them, know that this trip for many youngsters and for you, probably each time is almost an epiphany, isn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Later on in the program, I'll share a couple of my most recent epiphanies, real life-changing experiences.
You've had dozens and dozens.
I have too many stories to tell. If I tell them all, these youngsters won't get a chance to talk, and they're all chomping at the bit to do so.
I can tell.
I can tell.
So we're going to play musical chairs.
Yes.
We're going to exchange chairs, and then we're going to start it all over again in just a moment. I don't know. This is the week for Catholic schools. I just should tell people that we're recording this on some day. Or what date is this anyway? Does anyone? 27th of January 2003. I spent 45 minutes of my time at St. John's this morning reading to preschoolers. And talk about touching your heart. These little kids, you can just see these little mounds of putty ready to be developed and nurtured, and it was just beautiful. And now we get to see the other end of the spectrum. I don't know if they're big mounds of putty by the time at this age, but anyway, it's a pleasure for me to be here and to talking people who've been and who are going to Nicaragua. Who are you?
I'm Andrew Pajak.
See, I knew that. I pay attention to you, Andrew. So tell us the scoop. You've been once before?
Yes, I went last year in February.
And they tell us we've only got 5 minutes for each person, so in your most eloquent terms, or in any way that comes into your mind, tell me what it was like last time.
Emotionally tough, but with everyone that I went with, it was fun. I got through it, and it was good enough, so I want to go back.
It's fortunate when some people get a chance to go back once or twice or 3 times. Once is not quite enough. Everybody I talk to who's been before saying, I want to go again. When they get back, they want to go again right now. Of course, that doesn't work. What surprises? We talked before you went, and after you got back, was it the same or different? You got a chance to talk to other people before you went.
It was different in a way. I mean, it was hard not to fall back into the natural ways of us Americans. And going from nothing to having everything, it was hard to, you always tell yourself, I'm going to hold back on using, say, water, or not going to waste as much food, but in the long run, down the line, you're going to fall right back into it, and you're not even going to realize until you think, that, well, think of all the kids that have nothing. And, I fell back into it really quick. I wanted to go back so bad, and I couldn't wait till next year. And next thing you know, it's a month away, and you got to prepare yourself to learn and open up your heart to other kids.
Have you maintained any contact with any of the people over there?
I've had a couple letters come in, but they guess that they were really badly written. And
we'll help you in any way we can here.
And I couldn't get it really translated that well, so.
Andrew has a unique story, I think, which he's rolling his eyes, because we talk about each youngster having a personal experience, talk about a personal epiphany. And I think Andrew had one that really kind of summed it up for him, what his trip was like, and maybe he would be willing to share that. Sometimes he needs to be prodded because it's a very sincere story, but if he's willing to share that, I think it'll make a difference.
Please.
Well, last year I didn't really go on a lot of the trips, but when we were going to deliver the wheelchair to the one of the girls at the disabled hospital, I wanted to go, so I went, and I went into the infant room, and I saw this kid that was kind of deformed. His arms had they were flat, all the bones were flat, there's no rounding to them. And he was sitting there coloring, and what had happened is his parents abandoned him and just gave up on him, so he was staying there. And this kid was the most brilliantest kid I've ever seen and heard of in my life. Just because he had a deformity, it didn't hold him back at the least. He was sitting there coloring, so I sat down and started coloring with him, and even though I didn't know what he was saying, just the way he was talking and the smile on his face, it was really, really cool. And then when I had to leave, it was probably one of the toughest things I've ever had to do. And then I got a chance to go back, and when I went back, I gave him crayons and a coloring book. And but when I left the first time, he looked at me, and the way he looked at me, it was like, oh, another person got into my life, And so when I went back and then saw the happiness, and he remembered me, and that was really cool feeling.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad you shared that with us. Yeah, life tends to have a lot of goodbyes, but for every goodbye there has to be a hello, and for every door that closes, another door opens. Some of these phrases sound trite, but I found it to be true, and I'm at least 100 years older than you are. Andrew, thanks very much, and enjoy your trip this time around.
Thank you.
Okay. Kelvin says I should remind you that some people will be viewing this for the first time before the trip to Nicaragua, and those of our Plattsburgh area listeners will probably be seeing it after the trip has already been underway. What are the dates again this year?
We leave on February 13th and return late on the 20th. We'll be doing an all-nighter. We leave literally around midnight on the 12th, actually, via Mirabel and Air Transat, and we arrive in Managua the next day, on Thursday, and we'll return late on Thursday, the 20th.
One of the biggest changes from the first mission of Hope some 5 years ago is the fact that a number of schools are involved. How many this time?
We have 11 schools and 3 colleges that I can think of involved in this trip. 3 at least. I may be forgetting somebody at this point. But that's exciting to think that we have all of these high schools involved, and the word keeps growing, and we keep getting more and more involvement of other schools, and that's what it's about.
It was bound to happen that it becomes wider and broader. Who are you?
Derek Watson.
Derek, how are you today?
Good.
Not nervous at all about sitting in this seat, which is now warmed up for you?
I don't know.
Derek, did you go last year?
Yes, I went in February.
And tell me about it.
It was, if I could put it in one word, it would be centering. It brought a lot of things together, because I've always been an intensely religious person, and just going down there and seeing these people who really don't have much but their faith, it just kind of brought all mine together. So other factors have contributed too, but I want to be a minister in the United Methodist Church now, and just seeing it just really helped me. So.
Well, see, then another country heard from.
Isn't that great?
As many of our viewers know, and And anybody who knows me knows my father was a Methodist minister for over 50 years of his life.
Oh.
And he would smile if he knew that I became Catholic when I married my wife. And we go to Mass every week together. But it's important to celebrate our faiths in one way or the other, and I think that's just a terrific thing.
I think that's what's so special and unique about this mission as well, as it being all the different schools and colleges. We have truly become ecumenical as well. We have people from several different walks of faith that have joined us: Jewish, Methodist, Protestant, Wesleyan, Catholic, and I'm probably forgetting a few as well, because that's essentially what is happening is the spirituality and the faith of the person on the walk that we walk, and not necessarily a specific religion. So to be ecumenical and to be truly representative of the North Country is another unique aspect of the Mission of Hope.
That further defines the phrase mission of hope. That's great. So last year, you weren't really surprised when you got there and found things as bad as they were, because you had been prepped. You talked to people about it ahead of time.
Well, I had talked to people ahead of time, but I mean, generally I like to get a mental picture of places I go to. I like to have some sort of idea, but I had absolutely no idea what to expect. And when I got there, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I guess like I said, I didn't really have much of an idea, but it wasn't. The people were clean down there, and they kept themselves as well as they could. But it just the situation down there didn't allow them to take showers every day and be as well kept as we are up here. So that kind of thing. But it wasn't as bad as...
You know what sticks out in my mind as I remember the first time we got together with the people who went, is that some of these kids and their families walked for miles to get there to the compound.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I mean, we don't... We have school buses and taxis and very nice parents who put us in their warm cars. And many of us have our own cars by the time we're juniors and seniors in high school. These people have no prospect of getting anywhere except on their own 2 feet.
Yeah. Seeing them come into school in the morning is really interesting. They come. A lot of them walk, but some of them, they'll pile themselves on a mismatched trucks and cars, and it's just a big event getting there. Just to watch, because we see the nice little rows of clean yellow buses parked in front of the school, and it's not so there. It's very different.
And plus the road that they have to walk has been partially washed out from the hurricane, still not replaced. So the roads they walk are very dusty and very dirty, and most of these kids only have one pair of shoes, the pair of shoes that their sponsors or someone is providing for them to be in school. And it's absolutely amazing to us how they can come from the settings that they come from, and once they arrive inside that, we can actually watch them before they go inside the gate. They'll wipe off their shoes, or they'll dust off their shoes before they go into the classroom inside the compound. So it's a phenomenon that I encourage all of the students to get up and look over the wall, literally, and watch these kids coming down the road to school. In some unsafe situations, of course, and it's tough.
They don't know what's going to be there when they get back, and neither do you at the end of the day, huh?
Yeah.
What do you expect there might be anything different this year?
And I really don't know what to expect. I'd like to keep an open mind, because I want it to be an exciting experience, but I don't want to be closed-minded when it comes to it. So I don't know.
I should mention that everybody is so frantic and busy for the short time you're there. Everybody I've talked to said, all of a sudden it was time to go home. There were so many things we wanted to do, and so many houses we wanted to put together, and so many things. Just like a whirlwind, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really busy. I mean, you think we do all this preparation, months and months of work, and then we're only down there for a week. You think it would be like a month or something. But there's a lot done, and you're always busy. But there's also relaxing time. I mean, you get to spend time writing in your journals. We go to the beach, go to the markets, that kind of thing.
Waiting for the water to be turned on and hoping that it's hot.
It was quite an experience. Jackie was on our August trip. We went almost 5 days without water. And Marty Mannix and Sister Stephanie and a couple of the individuals, Mo Frazier, actually the older crew would get up very, very early in the morning and go try to get a couple of buckets of water to put into the area where we were all staying, so that we could have at least water to freshen up first thing in the morning. But water is truly a precious commodity, and becoming more precious by the moment down there.
So much to think about and so much to talk about. Derek, thanks so much for being with us. Have a great trip.
Oh, yeah, I hope it is.
We stopped and started again and changed chairs. There's somebody else here. Who are you?
Lindsay Bombard,
Lindsay, what school do you go to?
Seton.
I forgot to ask. Where does
He
Derek?
goes to Seton as well.
Okay. Forgive me if I didn't mention that, especially when it comes to the college people. Lindsay, right?
Yes.
Did you go before?
No, this is my first trip.
Oh, wow. What do you think?
I'm kind of nervous, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so I'm excited too.
Have you talked to lots of people who've been before?
Yeah, a lot of people. We got together. We've gotten together a couple times. We went to Friendlies one night and just get to hear everybody's different experiences.
But as Derek said, it's still a surprise, no matter how much people have talked to you about it. How are you going to figure out what to bring with you?
That's part of talking to everybody else to see what you should bring. Just seeing what everybody else is bringing.
Pretty hard to use toothpaste if you don't have any water.
I'd like to share a personal experience where Lindsay's concerned. Lindsay may have forgotten that she originally was not selected to go. We have way more people that sign up for this mission than we can possibly take. And we try to limit about half students and half adults and college students. And Lindsay and one of the other students were like 1 and 2 on the waiting list. And it impressed me tremendously. And I no matter how I said to her, you know, don't let your hopes get down. Usually something changes along the way, and at least one person can't go, unfortunately, for something probably not good for them, medical or other reasons, but you get to go. But I remember Lindsay, I hope you don't mind if I say this, but she was really sobbing that her chance had been missed up, or at least she thought, for this year. But what that said to me was she wasn't doing this just to get this on her resume. You know, she wasn't doing this just so it would look good for college or for her confirmation program or whatever. She sincerely and deeply wanted to go and was sobbing. And I also remember 24 hours later, it was that quick, if you recall. You want to tell what happened?
What happened?
Well, there's quite a few of me and my friends that weren't going, and we were like 1 through like 5 on the list. And 2 of my friends got a call that night from sisters saying that they got selected, and then the next morning she told another one. So like I was like number 1 now, and then I went and talked to her, and she said that I was going. So
You smiled for about 3 hours straight, right?
yeah, I was pretty happy.
Why were you so interested in making this trip?
I think it's a good chance to really help people that not everybody gets a chance to do, and it'll just be fun.
It's so different from the lifestyle that you're familiar with. Year after year, I get the same phrases from the people who've been there and come back saying, I'm just not selfish anymore. I'm just not quite as decadent as I was before. I didn't have to have new clothes every single day when I go to school. And the things that you thought or may think now are so important in your life may like the Letterman list may get down to number 8 or 9 from number 1. You think that's true?
Yeah, and I've heard that from a lot of people too, that like they shop differently now and changes a lot of things that they do.
Yeah, I guess we've almost redefined or underlined what we thought was the meaning of love by this mission. And, you know, we could sometimes interchange those words, mission of hope and mission of love, because that's what it turns out to be, and it works both ways. So be prepared. This big word that we've been throwing around called epiphany has a very special meaning, and it may not have any meaning to you until it happens, and I hope it does, Lindsay.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
hope it's a wonderful experience. Anything else that you want to add?
I don't think so. That's about it.
I'll see you when you get back. Thanks, Lindsay.
She'll have lots more to say then.
Bon voyage. Some people who sit in this chair are absolutely comfortable before a camera and a microphone. And there are other people who try to get out of the room before the camera starts. And in this case, this young lady was about 30 steps away and almost had it made. But see, a sister is used to teaching, and she sees things in the back of her head. You were so close to escape.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Samantha Cummings.
Samantha Cummings, we're delighted to have you here today. Why do you think you're so nervous sitting in this
I don't know.
seat?
Because I don't know what it's going to be like, so I don't really know what to say and have anything to say about it.
Have you been there before? No?
No.
This is your
This is
first
my
time.
first time.
You go to school here?
Yep.
And you're in what grade?
10th?
10th grade. So why do you want to go?
Well, because I hear people talking about it, and they say it's a lot of fun, and you will learn a lot, and it'll change you, so I wanted to help people and see what it was like and stuff.
Those are laudable goals, aren't they?
Laudable goals, and I think also the reality is there are so many of these young people that just can't put it into words. Like they just know that this is something they want to do, and they're not really sure why they want to do it, but something inside is nudging them. And it was the same thing that happened to me. I mean, I could have all these laudable goals, but the bottom line was something inside said, I need to do this. And Sam was one of the ones that didn't get the initial nod. She got the phone call the night later.
Second class nod, huh?
Well, there were so many that we started with juniors and seniors first, and we wanted to make sure we had a complexion from various schools as well. So Sam was a sophomore, so we weren't sure she was going to get that nod or not, but she did get a phone call.
Do you have other friends who've gone?
Andrew Pajak went, and Derek went. And
So they got to fill you in a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. If we see our friends who've had good experiences, we'd like to have those good experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what friends are for, to share those things. Where do you live?
Morrisonville.
Right across the road from my house. And if I were about 20 years younger, I could throw a snowball that far. I thought you were one of the famous comings from
Yeah.
across the street. Morrisonville's a good place. You all should come and visit us sometime. Are you going to take a camera?
Yes, I am.
Pictures are very important. They capture some of the emotion and some of the love and some of the sharing and some of the pathos. And we've looked at literally thousands of pictures from people who've gone before. And I know
Journals.
and journals.
And journals. They are all required to bring a journal. They have journal entries, which they are supposed to have made 2 already. That's a reminder. And
I can't wait to see Sam's after today. Like,
And-
those people made me sit in that chair.
and then the process, because I really, really believe it. People joke when I say they need to process what's happening, but they do. And I think this
Remember
helps
last
them.
year when I said briefing and debriefing? You know, when you're in the service, you get debriefed when you get back from every mission.
And that
This
will
is
be a
also
treasure.
mission.
And that will be a treasure for Sam and the rest of the students and the adults. We encourage the adults to do it as well, to have when they return, to go back and say, oh my gosh, I forgot that happened, because we are on a whirlwind for 8 days. And so to be able to go back and look and put the stories with the pictures and what happened to them on certain times or events, from the highs to the lows and everything in between.
Because
So
it's like, it's almost like an emotional overload. So much water being soaked up by that sponge, then you have to squeeze it out drop by drop and look at that drop and say, where does that fit into the overall thing? So I'm sure it'll be a good experience for you. I hope it will be. And you see, sitting here wasn't nearly as bad. And you say hello to the rest of your family for me.
Okay, I will.
Okay. See you later, Sam. Have a
Bye.
great day. You know, some of us are just mere children, and some of us have just been around so long that we have a certain classic maturity that needs to shine. And we started talking about high schools a while ago, and all we could hear from this young lady as she made her way all the way around the circle was colleges too. We know what CCC means.
Yeah, go to Clinton. I just graduated Friday. It was my last day of high school, so.
Isn't that terrific? From PHS.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll never say "Go Hornets" again?
Well, I was back there today visiting.
Oh, you were? Well, first of all, we didn't tell anybody who you are.
I'm Jackie Bedore.
I knew that, but our audience may not have known that, Jackie. How does it feel to be one of those mature women?
I don't know. I guess it feels pretty good.
The older you get, the more you wish you could recover some of those childhood memories. You've been to Nicaragua twice?
Yeah, this will be my 3rd trip.
How did I know that?
I don't know.
Familiar faces.
Yeah.
All right. Why will the 3rd time be a charm?
I don't know. You get to know everybody so well down there. It's just like going back and seeing your friends. It's just continuing the relationships that you already started there.
I think it's wonderful that you have that opportunity.
I'd like to say that Jackie's a real example of someone who has grown emotionally.
Not too much. Oh.
Emotionally and in terms of maturity, from the first trip a year ago to the second trip in August to this trip. And she's an example of a student who really worked hard and certainly has her own opinions about things, but has learned to become more open and less judgmental in the process. And all that's part of this too, in terms of just being able to accept and to grow. And she's done a good job of that, and she's now become one of our student leaders.
Oh, wow. I'm very impressed.
Nice.
Just give me a couple of things that stand out about your first two trips.
Well, my first trip I went with my sister and my aunt. And in August I didn't have any family going, but it's okay because I speak Spanish, so I get along pretty well down there. And this trip my mom's going down and my little sister, so.
Is that good or?
I don't know.
Sorry, Mom. See, you're making this a family affair. Three of you going from the same family.
Yeah.
What's up with the Spanish thing? Did you just take Spanish for 6 years in school or what?
Yeah, I've been taking it since 7th grade, so. I'm
I
pretty
know a lot of people have been taking languages since 7th grade and they're not fluent, but you're...
I'm not fluent either, but I can say a few sentences and pick out what some people are saying. You can identify a few words and then kind of pick up on what they're saying, but it takes a while.
Yeah, and some people who've never spoken the language get to understand these kids, or at least what some of their needs are, before they leave. And that's kind of neat, too, because there's a special language, a meeting of the minds and the hearts, if you will.
They help you out if you don't know what they're talking about, so.
So what, do you think anything might be different? Did you do anything special to prepare for this third trip?
Not really. I'm looking forward to working in the clinic. We didn't have the clinic in August, and it was my favorite thing in February, so.
Really?
Yep, translating for the nurses and doctors.
That's a good idea. Is the clinic, is that going to be an expanded effort this year?
Oh, yeah. One of the projects in August was renovating and expanding, developing another room and fixing up sections of the clinic. In fact, because of donations from the Noon Rotary, we also are putting a new roof on the clinic, badly needed roof. So by the time we arrive, we started some of that work in August, and some of the local villagers are doing some of the work right now, so that when we get there, it should be an expanded, and we have 11 medical people on this trip. 11 medical people.
No wonder you want to work in that clinic.
It's exciting, very exciting.
That's a very important part of it. It's hard to raise the level of a group of people like you're going to see in Nicaragua without helping them to get better from some of the more serious problems that they have.
Right, I'd like to ask Jackie to do something really serious for a moment, because we do have 11 high schools involved in this mission, and we're still hoping to get students like from Northern Adirondack, Northeastern Clinton. Those are two schools that we don't have involved yet, and we have the students involved but no students on the mission. Why should a student seriously consider what's important? How has it changed you?
It changes your life completely, like just the things that are important to you, the things that you're emotional about, completely change. Things that were big problems before, just they don't matter anymore. And seeing people die and people completely putting their life in your hands and asking you for help is just makes that so much more important than anything else. And it's not that you lose emotions, but when you come back here, you don't react as the same to situations just because it doesn't seem that big anymore. It's not
like that top 10
deal.
list that I said gets kind of turned upside down.
Yeah.
Well, that's why some of us, it takes a lifetime to learn these things, which you people are learning in 1 week.
Jackie was with us. I told you I had a story to share. She wasn't in the vehicle, but she was on the campus or on the compound when we returned in August. One of the experiences, as many times as I've done this, one of the experiences that I had that we were able to share with a couple of the youngsters when we returned, we made an optional trip to the Managua dump where 800 children literally live in the dump. And it was the most traumatic experience of my life, as an adult, and I took 6 of the college and high school students with me in August. And what a lot of people don't know, Jackie knows this, but what a lot of people don't know is that while we were there, literally from me to that bookcase over there, a distance of 10 feet, we were in a vehicle, and we had been told not to get out of the vehicle because of the disease and the stench. And we originally I went from an informative educational perspective so that I could share information and develop a larger parameters of support. But what happened, I never expected. We were sitting in the vehicle, and 10 feet away from me, a young Hispanic woman was holding her baby, and she kind of raised this very tiny infant up like this toward the vehicle, toward me. And I started to get out of the vehicle, and our driver grabbed my arm and said, "No, Hermana, no." And I was torn between ministering to the kids I had with me and wanting to reach out to her, because what was happening was her baby was dying. And we sat there for a few minutes, and we actually saw the baby die of starvation and disease right before our eyes. And I mean, we just sobbed, and there were no words to put the experience into words. And then I looked down. I didn't know what to do, and I looked down on the ground, and I saw an old rice bag, and you know, those white canvas kind of thing rice bags. And without a word, I just kind of went like this to her. And she took the rice bag and wrapped her dead infant in the rice bag. And then the most phenomenal experience began to happen. I can't even explain it to you. You know, we reflect that these people are barbaric, or they're this, or they're that, and we make all kinds of social judgments on these individuals. And in the middle of the dump, when a baby died, without a word, the community of people, literally, the what we call the garbage kids, the dump kids, and some older people, literally gathered around the mother and the infant, and they proceeded to walk in silence to a remote section of the dump. And we know that what was going to happen was that baby was going to be buried in the dump. The same dump where we had just observed 4-foot turkey vultures and wild cows fighting for food and literally ripping it out of a young child's hands, the piece of garbage food. And it took me weeks to be able to talk about that experience. And Jackie was on the compound, Dan was on the compound. We came back, and, you know, we just didn't, I mean, we literally, it was a long time. We needed those journals to process. And but since then, I've been able to write about it and have written a story about When Will There Be Room in the Inn, based on the Christmas story. And so Jackie knows the changes that can happen even in a matter of an hour when you take a trip out and you come back. And I need her leadership there as a young adult with the students who are going to experience some of those things.
It's difficult for those of us who live in this country of great opulence, to deal with the issues of life and death. But it's doubly troubling when you meet it face on, and there's nothing you can do at that moment. But no wonder you want to work in the clinic,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there is a way you can help another baby, or another mother, or another
It's
sister.
that everyone opens up to you, like people that you don't even know just come in, and there'll be 3 or 4 of us in the room just trying to translate, and then there's the nurses, and they just tell you everything. And people that, one of the nurses said to this one guy, he came in, he said he was like 103. We weren't sure how old he was really, if he was 103, but they just could tell that he had cancer all over, and all you can do is give him Tylenol, because there's nothing more you can do, and you know that that's not anything when you have cancer, but it's all you can do for some people, and it's hard.
Wow. You know, somebody would say, why would you want to go and endure that kind of pain? But the experience.
Well, yeah, I think it's not so much enduring the pain from a personal point of view as to being able to endure the pain with the people, to share the hope, to share the reality of who we are, and not being judged for any of that, but to go and to just be, to be who we can be for the time that we can be. And I think we learn as much from them as they learn from us. So it's really an interdependent relationship that's developing, and I can see that with the youngsters and with the adults. I mean, we have many adults who continue to go back year after year now, and many more who can't go but keep supporting us in other ways. So
That's terrific, Jackie. Thanks for being with us today. Have a good trip. See you later. One more time. Who do we have here? What's your name?
I'm Jorrit Oversteeg.
We're delighted to have you here, but you weren't born near here, were you?
I'm from the Netherlands. I'm an international student at Seton.
Wow. And he speaks beautiful English, too. I don't blame you for not knowing what the word epiphany was. How did you happen to get on this trip to Nicaragua?
I live with the family rugby, and my host father and host brother, they both went 5 years ago to Nicaragua, and they said me I had to go, and they told me all about this mission. And since I talked to other people who also went on this mission, I only got more excited to go.
How can you help it? How many other countries have you visited? Many?
I visited France, Czech, Republic of Czech, and America. That's it.
And you've probably flown over many, many, many more right on the way. Well, how long have you been here?
I'm been here now for 5 months. I stay for another 5 months.
Has your English improved since you got here?
Yeah.
Was it a little rocky in the beginning, a little tough?
I was pretty good in the beginning, but now it's more fluent than in the beginning.
It's amazing being immersed in a language for a while. I've always wanted to learn to speak French, but I could never become connected with somebody who would bounce the language off of me on a regular basis, and I've always been embarrassed. I bought all the programs on cassette and have gone to classes, and then it's like coming home from Nicaragua. You get back in your old setting and you speak English again. But I would love to learn another language.
I think your is admirable for taking the opportunity that Mark and Jacob Rigby have encouraged him to take. But he's also been a right-hand man for me around here. He brings supplies over to our storage place at the old air base, and is always checking to see if I need something. And interestingly enough, today I met his brother, who's here visiting him for the first time.
No kidding.
And learned that his brother is a nurse. And so I think that desire to, we were talking about that desire to help other people is deep-seated there. And although Jorrit's here, and I know, part of this is just he wants the experience as well, but I think given my experience with Jorrit in the short time that I've known him, I think there's something deeper going on inside this young man, and I think he's shown that his desire, doesn't matter who he is or where he's from, he really wants to help other people, and he's always stopping by to see if I need something, and that's kind of neat. And that's what the mission's all about, that Mark and Jacob 5 years ago would take their host child and turn around and say, this is something we think is really important for you. That's how the mission lives, that other people are continuing to share that word.
When I first mentioned it to you, did it seem like a good idea? Or weren't you sure at first? Say, what are you getting me into here?
In the beginning I was like, I heard how it was up there, and I was like, well, it's not that great. But later on I was thinking about those people also need help and everything, so I was like, I want to go.
I think I'll go there and see what I can do. And everybody can help. There's plenty for everybody to do, isn't there?
We have a tremendous number of projects on the docket for this February. Because of Northern Adirondack and Morrisonville Elementary, we're going to be building a number of home shelters for the families. Of course, we have our clinic. We have the cancer hospital, the disability center, and the orphanage. We obviously have the educational programs in the elementary and preschool. We have a mural project that's going to be an interdependent joint project between the students of Nicaragua and the students from here. We're excited about that.
Great.
And what am I forgetting? The roofing project. We're replacing the roof on the...
How good are you with a hammer?
I can handle that. It's not that difficult.
Okay.
The sewing room is going to be, the roof is going to be replaced. We've replaced the roof on the church and the clinic because of the Noon Rotary contributions and other groups. The Morning Rotary we're working on building a playground at the refugee center, one of the refugee centers for these little ones, and I'm sure they can probably think of other things I've forgotten, but we always have more projects than we have time to complete, but the goal is to have them be involved in as many of those different projects as possible as well.
I know it's going to be terrific for you.
Definitely, it will be.
I thank you for agreeing to go, and we can't wait to talk to you when you get back.
You're welcome.
See you later. Bye-bye. It's always terrific to do a before and after show. And just before the cameras began this last time, Sister Debbie and I and the rest of the kids were saying, she says, I couldn't do it without the kids, but it's kids helping kids, people helping people. It is a mission of hope, but it wouldn't have the same meaning if you didn't have young people going with you.
I think that's truly what makes the Mission of Hope unique. We've had people literally from all over the world now contacting us through our website, and people are awed. In fact, they're shocked that I'm willing to take 25 or 26 high schoolers overseas. But the other piece of that is that in a very real sense, I think it's a model program. If you wanted to have a program, it's a model program for what the 21st century missionary experience would be like. That it's literally taking people from their trenches here and having them have that experience, and then not staying there for 5 or 10 years at a time, but coming back and making a difference here as well. We are finding that people who are involved there are becoming more actively involved here. So it's this whole reciprocal experience of caring and concern. So we benefit, they benefit, and the relationships develop. And that's how you break down prejudice.
And I've also noticed that some of the people who come back who've decided to do something different with their lives than they ever imagined when they went there.
I didn't know until today that Derek had made the decision as a result of this experience to be a
almost
minister.
Overwhelmed by that announcement.
I did not know that.
Wow.
But we
as
have...
hard as it is to get clergy in any of the faiths in America or elsewhere in the world, say somebody ought to be embracing this boy and said,
Absolutely, but to be humble enough as a high schooler and to have the guts to say that, I mean, I'm just awed. But I've had students who have, well, Ross McGill is in the Ukraine. He's in the Ukraine as a result of his experience with the mission at the Peace Corps. We have Corey Giroux, who's doing a social services program and expects to continue because of her work in the mission. We have kids coming on board from college experiences who've heard about these kids' high school experiences who are now making choices for medical fields or social work as a result of their mission work. And I think that's why we do it. I mean, I just find that if we can make a difference at this age level, you know, sometimes adults have their own opinions and they're already formed. But the reality is high schoolers can help to change the process and the experience. And I truly do not believe that the Mission of Hope would be the same if we didn't have the high schoolers. That's one of the reasons I do it.
And I agree with you 100%. I think if there were more missions like this, the world would change perhaps a lot faster than it is. We didn't mean to bypass you here, but now it's your turn. Who are you?
I'm Dan McConvey from Lake Placid High School.
Lake Placid. Wow, this is almost global now.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
How did you happen to get involved in Lake Placid?
Well, I went in last February, and Dan Akey, who had gone a couple years back, he was going to go again, and he wanted to know if I wanted to go with him. So I didn't even really know where Nicaragua was. So
it's amazing. You get your little geography lesson real fast, don't you?
Yeah. And before, last interview, I really had no idea, what to say or anything because I didn't know what to expect. And then I went, and it was an amazing experience. I didn't really know.
Everybody has a slightly different story to tell. So, what's yours? Give us a little insight.
Well, there were a lot of experiences. I remember in the February trip, I went to the disability center where Andrew went, and I remember we were in the foyer, and I'm just sitting there, and there was this small, there was a fence over, a room that was separated by a little gate, and I walked over to it, and there was this little boy playing with this deflated ball, and he's not. I couldn't really understand him. I don't know what disability he had, but he couldn't really say much. And he gives me the ball, and he's like playing with it, and then he starts patting me, like hitting me on the chest, and I'm like, I didn't really know what it meant. And then he's like, El Papa, and at first I was just like,
Okay.
and he was calling me Dad, and at first, like, it didn't really hit me until like I left. Like, I was like in awe at the fact that that little boy had said something like that.
Isn't that amazing? Wow. That would be enough to change your life right there. At least make you think about what an impact you can have on one small child.
I think one of the realities that we learned is that many of these children at the disability center literally have one of two experiences. They've either been abandoned since very, very early in life because of their disability and the lack of knowledge or care on the part of the families to care for them, or they have actually been out in the wilderness. Like we discovered one girl, she had just arrived there. She was no wider than this table, and I had a couple of high schoolers with me, and she was in a bed, and she had these bandages on her, from all these open wounds on her elbows and her back and her buttocks, and I said to the nurse, I said, how old is this girl? And I was thinking that she might have been 7 or 8 years old. And the nurse looked at me and the two high school girls, and she said, she's 19. And my mouth just dropped, and I saw the two girls, their faces just went ashen. And one of the girls said to me, Sister, but for the grace of God, that could be any one of us. And I said, there's your epiphany. There it is. There's the reality. And for Dan to be thrust into the middle of a child being so lonely and so desperate that he sees Dan, who's not even the same race the same color as he is, and then referring to him as some kind of father figure in his life, simply because Dan took time with him and played with him. I think Dan still has lots to learn about that story as he thinks about that over the years. I think it's going to become even more and more significant. But Dan also has a wonderful story that just tells me about the generosity of these people. Tell them about the home you were building with the water and the volcanic ash. They forget.
So much to remember.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I didn't see the whole part of this. I've heard like fragments of it, and I was there, but I was doing something else during the house, but I know the story. And the ground, like we were trying to put these posts in the ground for the frame of the house, and the sand or the ground wasn't really suitable for the posts. So we're trying to do this over and over again, and this lady, she's like, no, that's not right. Like, that's not going to work. And she came out and she literally dumped all of her water. And at first we were like, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your water? And she just poured it all over, and the ground, it worked after that. We were able to do it, but it was just amazing that.
There were two things that were happening in that experience from eyewitnesses. I was not there, but there were two things. Several of the kids were having a hard time because the volcanic ash, the dust was, making them cough, which is one of the things that happens with the natives as well. But the reality that this woman would take that small, precious pot of water that she had been saving, and number one, she made it easier for our young people to work, and number two, she made it safer, health-wise, for them to work. And she sacrificed that so that they could work. That story says mounds of words.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
And
so they accomplished the feat.
And you got the post in and built the house.
Yep.
As we've said to our viewers many times before, you might think that a house is a house is a house, but in Nicaragua, it's not. It's generally an 8x8.
10 by 10.
A 10 by 10. Well, it wouldn't even be as good as my storage shed behind my house, probably.
Oh, I have to tell you this. Some of you may know that Sister Mayela came to visit. We got her a visa, and she's the principal in the compound down there. And she came to visit, and this will bring that story right to the point. And I was taking her around town, and I was saying, La Casa, La Casa, La Casa. And I skipped this building, and I went to the next one, and I said, La Casa Jerry Hamill. She would know some of the people that had gone. And in between this, there's a building. And she says, La casa, whose house? Or whatever the English is for. And I went like this. It wasn't a house. It was a garage for a car. And to watch her eyes when my translator said to her, that's not a house, that's a building where we put our cars. And the reality is that we house our cars better than most people in this country will ever live, in the country of Nicaragua. I guess that put it into focus in terms of when we give them a 10 by 10 structure and they think it's a mansion. And
Very different perspective, huh? And you think what you think anything will be different this time?
Well, yeah, I went in February and then I went in August, and they were completely different experiences. So I know what to expect, like getting there and all of the routine things, but I really have no idea what's going to happen after we get there.
Just wing it.
Yeah.
And drink in the experience, right? Thanks
Yeah.
so much for being with us. Have a good trip.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. You can call me Val, you can call me Jackie, you can call me Sam, anything but Sue. Remember that old song? Hey, Val.
Hi,
See, I know. After all of this. What's your last name?
Anderson,
Val Anderson. And what school do you represent?
Elizabethtown Lewis Central School.
Isn't it great? And another county heard from.
Absolutely.
That's terrific. Now, is this your first time around? Or?
This is my second mission.
All right. Talk about the first one.
Definitely life-changing. I mean, I won't look at myself, my community, my country the same way again. It just changes your whole perspective.
What's the most significant thing? Is it the fact that these young people just love you without expecting very much in return, or what is it that changes you?
That's a good part of it. In Nicaragua, compared to the United States, in the United States, you're often judged by how you look and how much money your parents make. And in Nicaragua, they really don't care. You know, they know that you're there to help them, and just there's automatic love just between the two of you. And
It's nice to make that discovery as a young person.
yes,
Most of us spend our entire lifetimes trying to figure out what love is all about.
I think one of the neat things about this mission is anyone that's on that trip, it gets an experience of a glimpse of unconditional love. And that's a reality that some of us struggle all our lives to have or experience, and this mission turns that around for them. And suddenly they come back so much more filled than they ever dreamed possible. You know?
That's expressed very well, and we've tried to express it many different times and many different interviews. So what, do you have a story to tell me that might have something might have been interesting? You got a picture.
I have a picture. This is from Sister Debbie's office.
All right, I'll hold this right up here so Calvin, tell me about it.
The little girl that I'm holding is Micah. I met her at the orphanage. I just fell completely in love with her. I mean, as soon as we got there, you know, she was kind of standoffish, kind of in the corner, and then it was like she was waiting for me. Because, like, as soon as she saw me, she came right up to me and just was by my side the entire time that we were there. And
Almost like there was a plan.
yeah,
You think maybe there was a plan?
I think so. I think there's always a
I
plan.
think there's always a greater plan.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you can fit into it, huh? Sometimes you can't fight it. You just got to go with the flow. So that was very special for you, huh?
When we were leaving the orphanage, Micah said something to me that just broke my heart. I didn't understand what it meant, but I had one of the translators tell me. And she was telling me that she wanted to come home and live with me. And it just, I wanted to take her home. I mean, she was small enough for carry-on.
Oh, you'd leave your regular carry-on
Yes.
behind in a moment, wouldn't you?
Yes.
How old would she be, maybe, you think?
She doesn't look that old, but she's actually 5 years old.
It's very deceiving. 2 years ago, when I was at the orphanage, I was holding a child, and the child was probably about 11 pounds, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, in that range. And the person in charge of the orphanage told me that that child was 5 years old, but had been severely malnourished and found out in the fields. And many of these children are found out in the fields. And Or the other side of that is when the girls turn 16, they're literally turned out on the street because they're only cared for until they're 16. So you have those two tough ends that some bookends that somewhere in the middle you try to give them a little bit of love and security and comfort.
You do your best, right?
That's right.
So this time, what special preparations have you made?
Well, honestly, I already have my bag packed. I've had it packed for a while. Yeah.
Those cookies are going to get mighty stale, aren't they?
Oh, stuff like that I haven't put in yet, but I mean, my clothes are all in there. And
You're an old pro.
I'm surprised I didn't pack when I came home.
But it is, I would imagine that's a big advantage for those people who've been there before. You don't have to go through all that great trauma of trying to adjust to where are we now and how far is it from here, and so you can get it going the first day, huh?
Well, my friend Andrew and I were talking about it and how last year when we went there, getting off the bus, we were kind of, skittish because there's hundreds of kids just running around, so excited, that you're there. And this year when we got off the bus, we're going to be just as excited, we're going to leap off that bus, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
To hear that you're excited and to know that they're going to be so excited, that makes a nice circle, doesn't it?
Oh, our emblem, our logo is a circle of children surrounding the globe, and I think that we see that literally, physically, many times during the course of the mission, where one of these kids are literally surrounded by kids, or kids hanging off their shoulder or off their, and they're being loved truly in many different ways and at all different levels during the experience. And that's also one of the reasons we did the Peace Corps volunteer parts of it with Jim Kinley and Mary Bell. Came up and did a 4-hour training session with the kids this year.
Oh, they did?
It was a wonderful experience for everyone who was going on the mission, not just the kids. But are learning how to even be more receptive, particularly for one age level of people down there that are a little bit more shy, and that's the older girl, because it's just not culturally acceptable. The little ones come running and the older boys will come running, but we bore it out in experience that middle level girl tends to be much more reserved and shy and may need that love and attention just as much as any of the others. So being tuned into that will help us to be more tuned in when we go.
Val's not going to be shy, I can
No.
tell. Thanks so much, Val. Have
Thank
a great
you.
trip.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I mentioned earlier that there are a total of 11 school districts involved now, whereas this program 5 years ago started only as a project at Seton Catholic Central School. That's kind of cool.
I just think it's so wonderful. The school districts, hopefully I'll remember them all. We have Beatmantown, we have Shazy, we have Seton, we have Plattsburgh High School, we have Peru High School, we have Saranac High School, we have Elizabethtown High School, we have Lake Placid High School, we have Bethlehem Central High School out of Albany, we have Johnstown High School out of the middle of the state. That's 10.
Boy, that's great. You were on a terrific roll. Did we forget one in this area?
I did Saranac.
Well,
It'll come.
You know
It'll
what'll
come.
happen? Huh?
No,
Au Sable?
not yet. No.
Oh, okay. Well, in any case, there's 11. And if you
Oh,
can...
no, you know what happened was we did have a youngster that was supposed to come from another system and wasn't able to come. So it is 10. That's what it is, because medically there was a
You wouldn't know the difference, so she
complication.
could have. I was going to say, if you can find Waldo, you can find the 11th. But, all right. Okay, great. Who are you?
I'm Christy Renane from Seton Catholic.
Christy, is it more difficult when you're getting toward the end after everybody else has spoken to you? Or did you say to yourself, hey, she said what I was going to say?
No, I just kind of feel more comfortable now, seeing like everyone being interviewed. So
It's not that difficult, especially if you say what you feel. Have you been before?
no, it's my first time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell me a little bit about the process. It sounds to me like it might have been very difficult to get on the list and get at the top of the list.
I was one of the ones that was first accepted. I didn't have to go through that. I was accepted right away. I was really happy about it though. I was really excited.
Well, did you have to apply, or how did
Yeah, I applied. There's an application sheet, and you just like fill out just like questions about what you want to do, why you want to go, what you're capable of, and things like that.
For our viewers, just so they know, every person that goes on mission has to apply, and then the leadership board of the mission determines the areas of expertise, and we always say that at least 25 of the students will be high schoolers, and that's a given for the February mission. And if anyone is interested in the upcoming August trip or future trips, they can get that application online at our website. So we've gotten so that they can download that, fill it out, and mail it in ASAP, because we already are getting applicants for the August trip. But they all had to do that and had to complete an essay as to why they wanted to do
You
this.
had to write an essay?
Yeah, short ones. They got shorter as we
Short
went,
essay
but
questions.
some of them did. But, and then they had to meet the medical expectations, complete the medical forms, complete the release and hold harmless forms, meet a series of meetings and mandated meetings that they had to be at in order to participate. And
Yeah, I think that's important to let our viewers know who might especially just be tuning in now. We're talking about the mission of hope to Nicaragua. And the fact that you didn't just apply last Tuesday and then you're going in a very short time on a trip, you had to jump through a bunch of hoops, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about some of the things you did. Meetings.
Meetings. There was a meeting in October, the earliest meeting. We got like all the forms like release and hold harmless, and then we had to get shots a couple weeks ago.
I forget about those.
Not necessarily the most pleasant part of the whole.
It wasn't that bad.
Oh,
I didn't. My muscles were a little bit sore after, but
And passports.
passports,
Oh,
get passport
passports, too,
pictures, take pills. We have to take malaria pills pretty soon, and then we took our typhoid pills. I already took all mine. Everyone took all theirs already.
So have you been asking a lot of questions of some of the other people, or?
People are pretty open about talking about it. A lot of people have been very helpful with it. Andrew Pajak, right when he came back last year, he told us all about it. He was all excited about it, and that's what really made me want to go, because he had all these stories and it sounded like a lot of fun, that it really changed your life.
I think one of the things we really do read each application, whether these youngsters realize that or not, and we really scour through them because there are so many applicants. But Christine was consistently honest in one of the things that she said, and you said it in an interview that you were on a couple of weeks ago. She was asked, one of the questions on the application is, why do you want to go on this mission? And I think the North Country needs to hear what her response is.
What did you say?
I said that I want to go on it so I can become less materialistic, because I am really all into buying all the latest stuff and
See how
looking
I said that
right.
in the beginning?
Yeah, looking right, and it shouldn't be like that. I'm spoiled. I'm like the typical spoiled American girl, never been touched by poverty in the least. And going on this trip will, I think, really give me a sense of reality and what people have to live through while I'm getting a new outfit for the dance, or, buying a sweater because I feel like it.
I think it's really, really important. I think one of the reasons we selected Christine, for example, was because she really strikes us as a model youngster who can make that transition from the life that she's living without going into the depths of guilt, because guilt doesn't resolve anything. In my thoughts, guilt often deadens us, but gratitude and the reality of generosity that develops out of seeing the other side makes you even more life-giving and more willing to share. And we've all seen people who have much but share little, but we also have seen people who have much and share much. And we've also seen people who have little and share much. And so I think it's an experience that will help to bring it full circle. But she's also learning something new. Tell them what you did today.
Oh, I did phone calls for people to people sponsor kids to go to school, and I had to remind them that those are due because they start back school February 1st. I do a whole bunch of phone calls. I was really nervous and I stuttered a lot.
Each experience makes you build you up a little bit more, and I like that idea. Bring out the materialism, because it's a topic we have discussed many, many times. But you've also seen, as Sister says, people who have millions and billions of dollars who give a lot of that money and a lot of that time to make their own missions of hope. And very wealthy male and female newscasters and Hollywood stars and so on who know that that large amount of wealth that they have can help somebody else. And they're humble about it. And humility is a good thing to learn fairly early in life. So I'm so glad you put that on your application. I bet you are too.
Yeah.
And you're excited about the whole thing.
Yes, I am.
And just like that, and you'll be on the plane. Right? Now, time will go fast from here on, believe
It's
me.
going fast right now.
I think most of them can tell you how many days. They-
17.
See that?
16.
16 days.
Oh, time flies when you're having fun. Thanks so much.
You're
Have
welcome.
a
Thank
wonderful
you.
trip, and tell us all about it when you get back.
I will.
okay?
Thank
Okay,
you.
Chris. And the next smile belongs to...
Jessie Crozier and I go to PHS.
All right, Jesse. How many people from PHS this year?
4,
4.
including Jackie Bedore, who is now a college student.
Yeah, she's...
Reminding us
Yes.
that she's a college.
She told us that she was already over there today, so she still has the connection. All right, is this your first trip?
Yes, it is.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your feelings.
Well, I wanted to go because I think the diversity in the North Country is kind of limited, and I thought that I should see a different culture, just to kind of like end the materialism that I have, just to kind of broaden my thoughts and everything.
Diversity is a good word, and it behooves all of us to focus on that, because diversity doesn't just mean people of different skin color. It includes a whole spectrum of other things. And just in your one short week in Nicaragua, you're going to be into that spectrum quite
Yes.
a bit.
I'm very excited about that. Looking forward to it a lot.
Now, what kind of preparations have you made?
Well, I've taken the medicines and the shots and everything like that and gone to all the meetings, but it's mostly just getting everything together and limiting your packing because the bag that we take is a carry-on, so I'll...
You can't take a 200-pound carry-on.
Nope. It's, what is it limited to? 22 pounds, so that's been interesting trying to limit it. I've packed and repacked, seeing what I can fit to my bag.
There's a reason for that, and the reason is that we take what they would normally put as luggage or suitcases. That's how we take all the supplies. So every volunteer is limited to one carry-on, and then all the cargo space is used to take the medical supplies, the food supplies, and all the things that we need. So.
Do kids have to help with that aspect of it, too?
Oh.
This Saturday we're going to be doing that. We're going to go to park and be packing everything.
I thought I heard some people
Yep.
talking about that.
And another day we're packing the U-Haul so I can go up to customs and get checked out, so we're not going to be late getting to the airport or anything like that.
No, we don't want any more
No-
problems
no
with
complications.
airplanes.
No more
problems with
and-
airplanes.
You should almost have that down pat by now. I say,
I don't know if I
almost.
ever told you the story. I was telling somebody the other day that we have now stopped. We have had 1 year we had a layover in Costa Rica. 1 year we had a layover, and this year it's Honduras, and next year it's El Salvador. I mean, last year it was El Salvador. But the funny part was that a lot of people didn't realize, I guess, that when we were in El Salvador, apparently someone had the description of me, but it wasn't me, that I was supposed to be carrying drugs. And so
Here we go.
this is a story. I don't even know if some of these kids are new, so they won't know this story. But I was supposed to be bearing drugs, and so
Not
No, you-
frankincense and
no.
myrrh.
And you have to remember now, some of our North Country viewers will remember that obviously there's a greater power at work here because I am deathly afraid of flying. I mean, that is my worst fear in the world. So I'm in the airport, and I'm carrying the briefcase, and we're heading toward the checkout, and these two El Salvadoran guards speaking Spanish with machine guns are coming at me, okay?
Oh, God.
And their guns are like this. And I'm
wonderful.
thinking it's a joke. I thought that Oscar or somebody had set them up because they knew I was afraid of flying, and they were. So I'm laughing at them, and I'm saying to them,
wrong thing to do.
I'm saying, real cool,
No
funny,
laughing
real
at people
funny,
with guns.
real cool, funny. And then one of the guards says in broken English, "Cool? What is cool? This is not funny." And then I'm told in Spanish to take the briefcase. And by this time, Mr. Flores has caught up with me. He says, "Sister, this is serious." Oh, shoot. And so we opened the briefcase, and of course, all I have is everybody's passport. Which, okay, so we explained what it was, and we got let go. Actually, this is the first year, because what happened was then we landed, as we were landing in New York City, there really was someone on our plane that fit my description, but not me. And the guards were at the gate, and she was arrested as we were getting off the flight.
Oh, wonderful.
So I haven't told most of these first-timers
Oh,
that
boy.
experience. But, yes, there will be lots of fun.
After-
I assure you. And they also go more than 24 hours, almost 36 hours without sleep the first night. So
That's tough. Kids can do that.
Yeah, we'll deal with it.
After about, I didn't realize you didn't tell me I had this. Everybody knows where I work now anyway.
Yes.
I didn't know I had that stuck on my shirt. I apologize. That's all right. Not that I'm not proud of where I work. So, you hope that none of this happens to you.
Definitely.
But if somebody runs up to you with 2 guns, don't say cool.
I'll freeze.
Just don't say cool. So what do you think? I mean, do you have any preconceived notions about what it's going to be like when you get there?
Well, at first I thought it was when I'd get there, people would be really sad and depressed. But what I've heard from everyone, that they have a lot of hope and love for everyone, and
That's
they're
the
happy
amazing
with what
part.
they have. And I'm amazed to hear that, and I really want to see that. I'm
The
really
smiling and the singing, and you get large groups together at some points, don't you? Didn't you have?
oh
a
yeah,
service?
there's a celebration every time we arrive, and these kids are responsible to doing something at the reception when we're greeted the morning after we arrive, and then the night before we leave as well. Singing and dance is something that culture is very comfortable with and very famous for, and it's something they give us as a gift, and these kids are in the process of preparing something to give back.
I love it. So what do you think? Gonna be good?
I definitely think so.
Great experience. I bet it will be. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
Have a good trip. I told you we were going to stay here till we had fun, and now we're having fun. Who are you?
Darcy Black from Peru
I
Central.
knew that. I saw your famous mommy walking in the door with you.
Yeah.
She's on again. She's done so many great trainings with us. Did you bring pictures?
Of course.
Now, what school do you go to?
Peru.
Peru. And you've been once or twice?
Once.
Once? It seemed to me like twice, but only once before, and that was
February.
in February last year. So this will be your second February experience. And just to prove that all your stories are true, can we start looking through pick some special ones and we'll show them on camera. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
this first one was.
Oh, look at this. That's beautiful. Let me get this over here where Calvin can get a good look at it. Tell me
That's
about it.
me at my first work project. That's where I first built my house, and that was one of the youngest children there.
Oh my goodness.
So when I wasn't hammering a nail, I was definitely all over that girl. She was such a
Oh,
cutie.
isn't she
Yeah.
beautiful? Okay. Just pick out some
pick out a
4 or
couple that
5
have-
really
This one,
special ones.
actually, I was at the
Oh,
orphanage.
that's beautiful. Okay, I'll hold it up.
That was a boy that actually another person on the mission, Troy, got very attached to. The boy's name is Sergio, and he just had a great presence. He was such a cutie, and Troy, who's, you wouldn't think of him like to get very emotionally attached to anyone, especially just a little kid that he meets, one day. And he spent the whole time, we were there for a couple hours, he spent the whole time with this kid, and when we left, there were definitely tears coming from Troy's eyes. He was
I love it.
brokenhearted. It was good to see him like that, though. That was pretty cool.
I think the exciting thing is that for some of these youngsters who will be going back to the disability center or the cancer center or the orphanage a year later, and the reality that they will see many, if not all, of the same children still in the same circumstances, and realizing that their few hours of goodness and love and sharing that they bring these youngsters is a high point in their entire year. And so it's transforming for our youngsters, but also for theirs as well.
I love it. Any more? Flip the pages, see if you can find any more that you think are neat. The overall experience, I know, is wonderful for everybody. These are terrific pictures.
Most of these are just of the people that I met there. I have a lot from the orphanage. That was a really great experience. This is just where most of the kids sleep. And
Okay, let's take a look at that. That's a good shot.
the orphanage was actually, the accommodations are really nice for where we are in Nicaragua. I was surprised. At first I was thinking it was just going to be the same thing as what I had seen in most of the families, and I was ready to be devastated because I knew that an orphanage had got hundreds of kids, and I was like, what are they going to do with like a 10 by 10, room? But it's really nicely equipped for what they're, that's actually a picture, that's the regular home there.
Oh boy.
If they're lucky
Yeah.
enough to have a
Yeah.
home, that would be a typical home that a family would live in. Yes.
While we were driving from the airport to the compound, which is probably the most memorable experience I had there, you could see houses where they would have just pieces of cardboard would be like their house, like put all together, and I don't know, that was probably the hardest part of the whole trip, because you just get into Managua, you get into the airport, and everything is all crazy because you're trying to get all the boxes together, and then you get on the bus to go to the compound, and you're thinking, okay, I'll be fine now. And then that drive from the airport to the compound, it's hard. It's really hard.
Was this the family for the house?
Part of it. Part of the family
See,
for the
I think
first house.
the other reality that our people here in the North Country need to know is that when we're building that 10 by 10 or 10 by 12, the average family that's going to be living in that is somewhere between 7 and 12 people.
Come on.
Mm. And this is part of one
And that
family.
little tiny 10 by 10.
See?
And while I was building that house, I went into their previous house, and I saw it was just, I kind of recognized it right away that it was a bed frame. It was just like the metal frame, nothing on it. And I'm like, why are they wasting space with that? Like, what are they doing with that? So I asked her what she did with it, and she put a blanket, just draped it over it, and then like 5 or 6 kids just went into, like, they sat on the blanket in which it went onto the ground, and she described that that's where they sleep. So
These would be typical pictures of what we were talking about earlier, where the kids are never alone. They always have little ones around and just loving them up and being a part of the scene.
yeah, I cannot wait to step off that bus. I'm just going to run just like they do towards me. So.
Isn't that amazing? That's an experience you're looking forward to when it first happened.
I was a little scared at
you?
first. I don't know, I was kind of confused because I didn't know any of these kids, but they just ran to me like I was their best friend, and I was like, I don't know you. What are you doing? So, and by the end, I mean, even if I hadn't met the kid previously, I'll just, go up and hug them, even then I'll ask their name, but it's such a nice feeling in general.
I think Darcy makes a good point here. We're so used to not approaching people unless we really know them to greet them. You can walk by a street, or you can walk a hallway, and people won't greet you, or if so, it's a very minimal greeting. And we've learned that would be very rude there. I mean, it's just so much a part of their culture that even if they don't know you, they will come up and greet you and bless you or reach out to you. And what was wonderful was, from an adult point of view or from a teaching minister point of view, is to watch the transition that occurs in these kids from the first time when they step off the bus to kind of being a little reserved, and then by the end of the week they're doing the hugging and the running and the can't let go and all this kind of thing, and they've made the gut check, the reality check that it's okay. It's okay to reach out to people.
Isn't it wonderful?
Because we're so often taught in this country not to reach out. I mean, all our words say reach out, but all our actions say protect me.
Yeah.
Isn't it
amazing?
And so it's wonderful to see these kids do that.
A lot of lessons to learn
Yeah, in 1 week.
in 1 week, and you'll learn some more this time around.
I'm excited. I'm ready for it.
Darcy, thanks so much.
No
Have a
problem.
great trip. Calvin asked some good questions that people might wonder about that we should answer on camera, and that is, do the people own the land that they're on? And you said no, it's generally squatters' rights.
In some cases, it is squatters' rights, and in some cases, they do own a piece of the land. particularly if they were able to survive the Civil War of the 70s and 80s. For example, Mr. Flores and his family, or Mrs. Flores and her family, they all own sections of land that their extended families have been able to build on. And then there was this little old lady who owned a section of the land and gave it to us if we would build the chapel and community center there. But in other cases, there are people, hundreds and hundreds of people who have been displaced from the war and the earthquake and the famines over the years. And so what happens is they essentially do squatters' rights. They'll set up camp underneath a tree or on the side of a cliff and eventually end up living there unless someone comes and throws them off, or they'll build a little house there. And we've not had a problem with people trying to throw other people out of the houses we've built.
Generally respecting each other's space, huh?
Generally speaking, what we have is for every one house that we build, we probably have 50 to 100 more people who need a house in that small area, and the reality is we could build a house for every single one of them. So we don't make the judgment call on who needs the house, because that would get us caught in the politics of poverty, and that exists. So what we do is we have the sisters in charge of the compound and the council that they have elected to help or selected to help them, and they make the choices, and we then visit the sites and build the homes.
Politics of poverty, huh? Politics for everything. Who are you?
Aaron Pavone, and
Aaron.
I go to Seton.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you here today. I know you go to Seton, otherwise you'd be an awful traitor if you went somewhere else, right? Aaron, how did you get involved with this project?
I actually heard an announcement over the loudspeaker at the end of school one day saying that there was a Mission of Hope meeting to Nicaragua, and for new members to go if they were interested in applying. And I went and I applied, and I'm going. So.
Ta-da! What year are you in school?
I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore. This is going to be a pretty neat experience. Do you think, for any reasons that some people haven't mentioned, is anything particular in your mind that makes it really important for you to take this trip to Nicaragua, do you think?
I just really want to help people who are, because I'm fortunate to be, live in the United States and pretty much be well off. And for people who don't, we take a lot of stuff for granted, and really the stuff that we take, they probably have never even ever seen. And I just really would like to learn how to, help, really. And I'm really big into trying to widen my reach to different countries and maybe help. So.
Who knows what it leads to? I mean, I've had young people say, very frankly, just like the young man earlier today, I'm going to be a missionary. Zappo. I haven't followed through with any of these kids, but I'll bet you if they're not a missionary to another country, they'll be a missionary here in their own land,
I think for the most part. That's the uniqueness of the bond also that gets created with the individuals that go. I am very fortunate. I get to meet these kids out while I'm out or whatever, and the sparks, fly, and they say, "Oh, I'm doing this, and the mission really made a difference in my life," or "I'm doing this," or I'll get an email from a youngster at college and saying, "I was talking about the mission the other day," and we've had college students who have write-ups in their college magazines about their experience with our mission, and so yeah, I do believe it. We don't know the long-term effects of this mission. Yeah, we're just beginning to sense.
Well, we know they're mostly positive.
Oh, yes.
And we know that the experience is one that you can't exchange for anything else in your life. And our lives are built on one experience after the other. And when you were talking, I thought how neat it is for a bunch of young people to get together and talking about such a tremendously positive thing. It's okay for us to make small talk. We all do. What movies we saw, where we went last night, what happened. But to talk, when you get back and get debriefed, as you said, and start the process of working all these things that you've seen in your mind, you must be excited just talking to the other people who've been there before.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of really great stories, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing some of the stories for myself.
Everybody wants to be loved. And you're loved instantly the minute you get there.
And I think what my hope is for youngsters like Aaron is that when they come back, their mission experience doesn't end. The real test of this mission is that their ongoing commitment not only to the mission of hope, but to other areas of need in our own local area needs to expand. And so by doing that, we're living both the local and the global responsibilities that we as human beings have. And just to give you one of the examples, we have one youngster that is in Johnstown, and she literally has been working all year developing ways of developing funds for the mission. She created her own Halloween Nights Out program for high schoolers, and instead of doing trick or treat, they said give a donation to the Mission of Hope. And she actually, between that and her National Honor Society, this is Johnstown now. I mean, this kid's only been on one mission so far, and she's raised $800 to support kids in school. You know,
that's cool.
That's great.
The guy with the guns was scary, but that's cool.
It's exciting, and that's the hope that when these youngsters come back, like Aaron was very instrumental. We have a restaurant raffle happening right now. We have 53. Agnes was my coordinator. 53 gift certificates from 28 different restaurant establishments in the area, and of course, Aaron's grandfather owns Arnie's, so we have gift certificates. And
let me see if I could donate a quarter for every plate of spaghetti at Arnie's. You would never have to raise money again.
Well, you know, you made me think of something when you said if I could donate a quarter. I just had an elderly person send to me, I think it was $13, and I guess a year ago I had been speaking someplace and said, this elderly person on a fixed income said, yeah, but I'm on a fixed income, what can I do? And I said, can you spare a quarter a week? And his response was, yeah, I can do that. And I said, well, at the end of a year, that's over $13. And I said, you can send that, and that becomes a lot of valuable money to help a family in Nicaragua. And it happened.
13, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
That's like all the street drives we used to do on the radio, and little children would bring 10 pennies or 15 pennies, but it's what they could spare. Aaron, you're a charming young man.
Thank you.
I can't wait to talk to you when you get back from Nicaragua. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. There's a lot of hate in the world, and we see it on the news and read about it in our favorite newspaper and news magazine all the time. But if I could bottle up this young lady's smiles and just release it a little bit at a time all around the globe, there would be a lot less hate and a lot more love. You have the most charming smile.
Thank you.
Are you happy all the time?
Yeah, pretty much.
Most of the time. Me too. We can be buddies. Who are you?
My name's Catherine Munn, and I go to Seton Catholic, and I am in 10th grade.
10th grade?
Yes. And this is going to be my first year going to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
I find it interesting how many of them now say my first year. They used to say, this is my first time. And now I'm learning from the youngsters when they say it's my first year, there's an anticipation that it's going to be a repeat. See, I've learned that differentiation among the kids.
It's going to be great. And I bet you'll get a lot of response to your smiles over there. Do you think so?
I hope so.
Right? I mean, just looking at those pictures and seeing how the people that we've spoken to who are going on these trips fall in love in 1 week's time with these young people. You don't mind doing that, do you?
No, not at all.
Oh, that's wonderful. What have you had any special thoughts while you're listening to everybody else talk here?
I just really want to make a difference and get a different perspective about like the United States and Nicaragua, see how different it is.
I don't know how many of our viewers ever stop to think of what that means, that word perspective. We all have one. We all have more than one. It depends on our station in life, where we work, where we live, our families, what good or bad has happened to us that day. But so rarely do people kind of think, what sets me apart from somebody, how old are you?
15.
Somebody who's 15 who might stand next to that compound and say, shall I go in or shall I go in today? Huh?
Yeah.
That's what the word perspective means. What sets me apart?
Yes.
But you said you want to connect and you want to share and you want to do something for somebody else.
Yes, I do.
You'll have lots of chances to do that.
Yes.
Do you know what some of your tasks are going to be yet? Your own personal
no.
tasks?
Oh, I just want to make someone smile.
Oh, you've made me smile, so you got a wonderful start on the day. Every time I watched you moving around here, I could see your smile that was set apart. Not that everybody else didn't smile, but some smiles are just very, very special.
Thanks.
So what do you think? What have you studied anything about the Nicaraguan culture? Have you thought about it? Have you talked to people?
I've talked to many people that have gone, and I'm a little nervous, but I think it'll be a good experience.
What makes you most nervous, do you think? Have you ever flown before?
No, this will be my first time flying.
First timer
Yes.
on an airplane.
Don't count on me to calm you down.
You sit right next to Sixth Sister, and you can
White knuckles together.
entwine your white knuckles. But it'll be just a terrific trip. Are you going Saturday to help them pack
Yes,
things?
I am.
Everybody's going Saturday?
Well, we're hopeful that we'll have a good percentage of the 60 people because we have thousands of pounds of stuff to box, label, inventory, prioritize, so that if we can't take it all, we say, okay, this has to go. This is second level, this is third level, and then we'll work on taking some more when we go again in August, and we rotate that way. And we're also putting pleas out there for assistance with shipping. We've got a grant that we've applied to UPS for, but funds are always welcome in that area as well because that's probably the most expensive piece of the trip that's not covered. People are very, very, very generous in donating their monies and their supplies up here, but it costs a lot of money to get it there. So that's why we limit what we take so that we can take several thousand pounds with us. But because of the generosity, it always helps to be able to take more. We never have enough medicines or vitamins and things like that, and so we need to be able to get that stuff down there. That's not readily available down there. So.
And you certainly can't carry all that in your 22-pound carry-on bag. She only weighs 23 pounds. You'd have to have somebody else to carry it. So you're really looking forward to it.
Yes, I am.
Did you think about it last year? Or is this something you just thought about this year?
I thought about it this year.
Did you?
Yeah.
Just seemed like a good idea at the
Yes.
time. Isn't that what life is all about?
I think that's amazing how many youngsters have heard in one way or another of I've spoken at their grade schools or this or that. And I had a first grader this week say to me, how old did she have to be before she could go on mission?
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
And I told her she had about 8 more years. And but I have to also tell you, this first grader, she was at Northern Adirondack, and the Northern Adirondack third graders, first graders, and fifth graders have all prepared projects, but the third graders did a baggie full of a letter from them and a package of crackers or cheese and pencils or pens and stickers, and we're going to transfer those over to kids down there. But as one of the first graders was handing me one of these baggies, she looked at me and she said, "'Cause we gave these bags, those children aren't going to be poor anymore." And that innocence is also a piece of the reality, because in a very real sense, the fact that those children were willing to give just a little, those children in Nicaragua will be rich. They will be rich with the giving, with the giftedness of these kids. And so I'm absolutely amazed. Like one of the third graders, I was asking all these wonderful questions, and I asked one of the third graders, I said, "Why do we do this? Some of your mommies and your daddies and your grandpas might say, oh, we're not going to give to them people. We got enough people right here to take care of, and all this stuff." And one little third grader who was mentally challenged after a period of time of my asking the question, she just sat there very quietly. She raised her hand and she said, "Because we can." Mm-hmm. And when you think about that, that is the most profound response.
It certainly is.
So why do you do it? Because it's the right time,
can,
because
the
you
right
can.
time.
It's the right time. And for these kids, it's the right time,
Ta-da! Set the tone for the rest of your life. Never stop smiling. Thank you so much for talking with us today, and you've been an inspiration to me. I can't wait to see what's going to happen to those kids in Nicaragua. See you later.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Bye.
The person in charge. Oh, the TPI, huh? Who are you?
Agnes Gasparini. I'm a junior here at Seton Catholic.
Delighted to have you here. And as they always say, last but not least. So what's it been like for all this coordinating?
Busy, but it makes you more excited to go.
Tell me some of the things you've been doing.
I got the restaurant raffle going where we got donated gift certificates and we sell tickets and we raffled them off.
Has it been pretty successful?
Oh,
So
I don't even have 2/3 of the group's monies in, and we're like over $600, and that's all clear profit.
Oh,
so
definitely,
it's wonderful.
It all helps. All right. Now, but this is your first trip?
Yes.
You really had to pay big time by all this coordination. But that's fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's got me really excited to go. At first I was kind of nervous, but now I'm really excited to go see what all the work's going to be put to. So
I think she was a unique example of someone I wanted to be one of the student representatives or the student leadership coordinators, because Agnes tends to speak more with her actions than she does with her words. And she's very quiet. As you can tell, she sat here and listened and listened and listened. And behind the scenes, she's running to pick this up for me or running to coordinate that. And so I think that kind of representation is important for young people. And she is one of the older students on the mission, so she'll also set that tone as well in terms of the school coordination.
Not that you were nervous to come over here and talk. It's always hard to be the first, and it's hard to be the last. But I give you special credit just for staying awake while everybody else talked. Were you thinking of anything else that we didn't cover? Something that you've thought about, or something that you've learned so far?
not really. It's mostly been said. A lot of people said that they were nervous, but like I said before, I think I'm more excited than I am nervous.
Excitement is
Definitely.
good, and nervous excitement is good.
Yeah.
I think Agnes has gotten a fair picture of the amount of intense work that goes on behind the scenes in the
It's
organization.
not something you do in 2 weeks. No.
Yeah, she realizes, I mean, obviously this is a year-round full-time job for me now, but literally Agnes and I have been working on this since mid-September in terms of coordinating the student work and what we have to do, and who has to be contacted or what phone calls have to be made. And on the student level, that doesn't have anything to do even with all of the adults and everything else. So I think it's important for a young person to realize this just doesn't happen. There's a lot of behind the
It
scenes
just
work.
isn't goodwill and good thoughts you have. And that last week is going to be, I don't even want to think about
Definitely.
that. The last week. Do you live right here in town?
No, I live in Dannemora.
Oh, no wonder you're shivering. It's been about skiving below zero up there for the last few weeks. So you come down here to school every day.
Yes.
That's a good experience, and we're glad that you come down here to school. But we're also glad that you have the opportunity. This is an opportunity, right?
Yes, definitely.
A chance to do something very special, and it doesn't have to be with 200 kids. If you touch one kid, like some of those photographs we've seen, doesn't that make you tingle all over just to think that you can make that kind of a bond with somebody from another country?
Definitely. That's why I like helping doing stuff, because then I know where our work is going and what it took to get there.
Yeah.
So.
In a very real sense, she and the students have even a firmer grasp of all the nitty-gritty legwork that happens to get this going, because most of the adults that are going on the mission are full-time workers, so they don't get into the groove, so to speak, unless it's a weekend experience or until they go. And obviously they're all taking time off or vacation time to do this, so we really count on the youth to do that legwork. But I also have to say, I can't tell you how many retired people in the community and how many people who are working shift work or this or that who are calling and saying, "Sister, do you need help? Do you need stuff transported? Do you need pickup? Do you need this? Do you need that?" And Agnes has seen that from the beginning. So in a sense, the kids and Agnes have a grasp on, they're going to see the other end where the rewards pay off, but they've also got an experience of the amount of work that it entails as well.
I bet you haven't counted the hours.
No, not yet. Not yet.
I was thinking as some of the kids were talking here, and you said the journaling. I had forgot the journaling. wow, wouldn't it be fun sometime to take some of those private thoughts that you write at night before you go to bed or early in the morning and put them in a kind of a compendium of journals?
When I retire, Gordy. But actually, we do have 3 or 4 students who have written summaries of their story, and they're on our website.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
So
going
you
to have
can
to be
pull
checking
that
out,
up and
checking out
check
that
it out.
website.
Yeah.
So have you made any journal entries yet?
Not yet, but I've definitely thought about it. Between doing the restaurant raffle and we did a couple other things. We did a giving tree during Christmas where we set up a tree and put ornaments on them to say what to bring in and stuff, and bringing stuff over to the base to be packed and everything. So.
Yeah, in the last waning moments of our program here, and we do have to wrap it up, let's talk a little bit about all the stuff you used to ship over there and how things have changed. There were a few nightmares way back when, before
yes,
we got
like
the hang
not
of it.
getting our canister,
Yeah.
being confiscated for a couple of weeks. But we finally did get all our supplies. I think it's really important for the North Country people to understand that we're urging, other than for over-the-counter like vitamins and medical supplies, we are really urging for monetary donations more than anything, and the reason for that is because we're trying to infuse the economy there. If we can buy, like for example, the building supplies from local people down there, then we're doing two things. We're not only building the homes, but we're giving people jobs there. And when there's 62% unemployment, that's significant. There are some things we can't get there, like a lot of our sewing supplies. So we've had a lot of sewing contributions for our sewing co-op and for our computer co-op and the medicines. But the other things like the clothing and the paint supplies and the building supplies, we don't transport those things anymore unless it's something unique, because we really need to be able to infuse the economy there, to do it locally. That's something we've learned. And for the most part, North Country people have been very supportive in helping us get that accomplished.
And now with kids coming from Johnstown and E-Town and Tupper Lake and Lake Placid and who knows where, the word will get out. And the Mission of Hope will be larger and larger.
Yeah, I had an email from someone the other day from Japan.
Oh,
actually,
don't you love it?
actually had read our website, had looked up mission on our website, and looked up mission, and our website came up, and then they began to peruse it and thought, wow, this is unique, and wants to apply to go on one of our future missions. And we have had people on mission now from Colorado, and from Florida, and from New Hampshire, as well, and downstate New York. So we really are expanding slowly, and people, but. Someone the other night said it the best for me. A woman called me, a local woman, and she was very filled with a lot of nice things to say, and that was very nice of her. But she said something really unique, and she said, you know, we have a homegrown girl. We have homegrown people doing a homegrown mission, and that's restoring trust in a society where there's not a lot of trust. You know, we see corruption all the time, and we see charity funds not getting where they're supposed to go. But we can assure you that's not going to happen with the Mission of Hope, because every penny goes where it needs to go, or where it's supposed to go. And I think that's what makes us unique, and that's what makes this the mission of the North Country. And
There are a lot of lessons to be learned by all of us involved, and for our viewers too. If it's possible to find a way to give of yourself or give back to a community that's been good to you, do it. That's what Calvin and I do with this program, and that's what you're doing in the Mission of Hope, and that's what you have done way above and beyond the call of duty. Thank you both for being here. Thanks in absentia to all the other kids who were here, to all the parents who support this, all the schools that support this, all the businesses and individuals who are just saying prayers tonight that this mission will be the best ever.
Mm-hmm. And the professional adult volunteers as well, and their businesses and their employers who support their going on this mission. I mean, it literally is a rippling effect, and we can never say enough thank you. But just pray for us, and that's the most important thing as we do this mission, and continue to support us.
And we'll see what happens when you get back. We can't wait for all the stories. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.